This is going to be my recap, review, commentary on what CM Punk said about AEW. Because that was the draw. That was the big draw for this interview with MMA Hours, Ariel, Helwani. Nothing was off limits, except the stuff that was clearly, legally required him not to talk about. NDAs and all that jazz. Believe it or not, he did mention signing some NDAs, and it wasn't even over something he did wrong. It was about something else. That's interesting. That had me going, what happened that made Tony Khan go, Punk, you're not involved in this, but you need to sign this NDA. Wow. We might hear about it one of these days. It's not going to be from Punk or anybody involved that signed an NDA, but maybe Ace Steel's wife will come out, get paid a ton of money to talk about it, and we'll know. But essentially, outside of the brawl, he talked about everything. How he felt about Tony Khan, about AEW, about Jack Perry. No NDA on that. Came out and basically said that Tony Khan is a clown. AEW is not a real business. He held nothing back. And you know I'm here for it. So let's not waste any time, because I don't got time to waste. So I think it's fair to talk about his return to WWE, because that coincides with him leaving AEW. You don't get the big return at Survivor Series 2023 if he doesn't get fired. Well, him quitting actually, but him quitting and then getting fired by AEW. So they opened up the interview talking about CM Punk's tricep injury, because it's currently healing. He has the brace on. He says he feels great and believes he probably could have made Mania. But WWE is keeping him out to protect him from himself. He feels that's a welcome change. And sometimes it's better to be sorry, or it's better to be safe than sorry. That's the right phrase there, right? It's better to be safe than sorry, because you just never know. All right, I'm good now. Let's make WrestleMania. And then he ends up re-injuring it. Now he's out even longer. I'd rather just, all right, let's play it safe. It might not be as bad. Maybe you could come back during the summer, and then we'll put you back on TV to do a feud with Drew going into SummerSlam, or maybe around then or before then, than to have you come back at WrestleMania too soon, and then you injure yourself again, and now you're out until next year. You know what I mean? Because these injuries, they start piling up, and you just never know if it will be like a serious injury or something that will just take you out longer than you need to be taken out. So I get that. I get why WWE is very hesitant. Even with certain matches, like what happened with Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory. They bumped their heads and they said, nope, stop the match. They're fine. They're absolutely fine now. I think Austin Theory is going to WrestleMania. Carmelo Hayes is doing NXT takeover, what is it, Stand and Deliver? Stand and Deliver, right? They're fine. But better safe than sorry. It's always the best way to go about things. He continues, he received a call to come back to WWE 5 days before Survivor Series. He told Ariel Helwani that he wasn't under, this is important, a non-compete clause. No non-compete clause after being fired by AEW. He said he could have signed with WWE the very next day. He literally could have made a call to Nick Khan, hey, I'm free. They could have brought him in immediately. Nick Khan, during a conversation with Punk during that 5-day period, said, I wish I would have known that. Because I guarantee you, if he had known that, Nick Khan would have brought him in a lot sooner. But I'm happy he didn't. Because that moment at Survivor Series is going to live on in eternity. That's an immortal making moment. Those are one of those returns that you just never thought would ever happen. Because that was the thing. When CM Punk got fired by AEW, many people, even hardcore CM Punk fans, were assuming, oh, that's it. That's it for him. Like, he's never, ever coming back. We all thought this run in AEW was his last chance. If this bombs, bye-bye CM Punk. That's what we all thought. Even I kind of thought that for a minute. So, the idea of him ever going back to WWE was a foregone conclusion. It was never going to happen. So when it happened, it was like, wow, never say. It was really bringing forward that phrase that we always say, never say never, right? Even though I was one of the main people arguing that, listen, you don't not make the call to CM Punk. And I had a feeling that when he got fired, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H brought him in. Not just because, time heals all wounds, but business. We're doing great business right now. Let's keep that momentum going by bringing in CM Punk. And the rest is history. CM Punk comes back into the Rumble, gets hurt, but now he's doing this awesome program with Drew and Seth Rollins. And The Rock came back, so even bigger business. So it all lends to the growth of WWE, but we don't get here if he doesn't get fired or he doesn't quit. But yeah, he talks about this idea that there were hints, teases of him coming in. Like, I think Shinsuke Nakamura did fucking GTS one time on Raw, and someone mentioned being the best in the world. I forgot who it was. And even CM Punk was like, okay, should I be tanning right now? Like, is there like a return being planned without me knowing about it? But apparently it wasn't leading to anything. It was something. Maybe they were doing it and he had no idea. I think there was something behind it. I would argue, like, deep down, if you were to be a fly in the wall, Triple H was probably doing that to let people know, don't worry, we got you. We know what's going on. Because it was, come on, it was happening literally after he was fired by AEW. It wasn't just the thing that was happening for a long period of time, like for a couple of months before then. No, it literally started after he got fired. Come on now. Well, apparently there was nothing to it, so whatever. And then he talked about the only people that knew he was coming into WWE are his wife, AJ Lee, Triple H, Nick Khan, and his lawyers. That's it. Nobody knew about it. So that story about Seth Rollins not knowing, well, guess what? Nobody knew. That's what Punk said. Maybe Triple H made mention to it beforehand to the other people and left Seth out of it. Maybe. I don't know. But according to CM Punk, no one knew. Alright, this is where it gets juicy. So remember that report or incident where CM Punk visited Monday Night Raw one time in May 2023 when they were coming to Chicago? Remember that? I think some of you do. Well, Punk confirmed it. He said he was visiting to say hello to friends, past friends, to reconnect, and he was kicked out. He was kicked out by Vince McMahon. He made a call. Vince McMahon made a call to a security guard and said, get him out of here. Because he showed up unannounced. Now, this is interesting. He says the person that invited him to Monday Night Raw was Bayley. Bayley was the one that sent him a text, hey, you should come visit. He said, all right. And he talks about how that made the AEW locker room feels. He mentions people. He's not saying any names, but he mentions people from AEW were very upset he was there. And used the word betrayed. You betrayed us. And I thought that was weird. Because CM Punk isn't the only person to show up on WWE television. Here's the thing. He didn't even show up on television. He was just backstage. There are certain AEW talent that showed up on television. Britt Baker, of course, Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho for the John Cena thing, but they had a history there. There are certain talent who are shown at the Hall of Fame. I think Buddy Matthews was shown at the Hall of Fame on television. There are certain people in the crowd. Like, come on now. Why is he being called a traitor or betrayed because he visited? It was weird. That's just so weird to me. And again, you could say that maybe that was him dipping his toe into things because he's eventually going to go back to WWE. And he wanted to go back to WWE. We would later find out that he actually did want to go back, but that wasn't what that was. He was just visiting. And I hate that. We'll get into that in a little bit, but there was this air when it comes to CM Punk and AEW, it was an era that said, we hate everything this guy does. I don't think, maybe this is just me, it just feels like when it came to him and certain people, the elite, whatever you want to say, they were always out to get him. They were always out to slander him. It felt like that to me. And apparently it felt like that to him as well. We'll get into that in a second, but I just had that feeling. Regarding the Vince McMahon allegations, this is something that everyone's going to be talking about. He was asked about it. He basically said there's no positivity there. He didn't even need to read the allegations. He read the text messages. There's literally paper trail. I said that right. There's literal evidence of these things. These are text messages from Vince McMahon himself that he sent to, forgot her name, Grant, Miss Grant. That's her last name. I think it's Janelle Grant. And she showed him the text messages. And it was proven that that is Vince McMahon's phone number. And so Punk was like, that's all I needed to see. Screw this guy. It's indefensible. And his concern right now is about the victims. And them somehow getting reparations for his actions. Because you can't defend what Vince McMahon did. And he basically said the business is better without Vince. Yes. Hopefully it stays that way. He talks about The Rock's return, how it's significant. It's drawing attention to different people and creating an environment where wrestlers have to step up, which is what he loves. He loves a Shark Tank. He loves that environment where, okay, this is the bar now. Step up or get off TV. He doesn't like when certain wrestlers use insider terms in promos, but he doesn't mind F-bombs. He cusses up a storm. He's a sailor. He cusses like a sailor. But he also acknowledges that people like him and Rock get special privileges. They get away with certain things because of their status. But he also feels, okay, that might be true, but certain people can't handle the things that we get. Okay, we get liberties, but it's because we're professionals and we can handle it. I can drop an F-bomb and make it work. Rock can drop an F-bomb and make it work. You give that to a Candice LeRae, she can probably make it work. An Indy Hartwell. Ooh, uh-oh. I don't know if I trust her to make that work. You give it to, even if you give it to a Bobby Lashley or Montez Ford, they might misuse it and then, we're in trouble. But you give it to a Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who basically uses it sparingly, mostly on his individual pre-show recordings. That's different. That's different in comparison to television when you have to get it bleeped out. And if you do it in a way that's not tasteful, then it hurts the company, then it helps. And I think I said that. I said when you become a superstar, you become the highest paid actor in Hollywood, then you might get these liberties too. Is it unfair? I mean, isn't this how it is in the workplace? Certain people get responsibilities, but with those responsibilities that come perks and consequences. You know, the higher up you get in the food chain, you get more perks. I think that's just life. We go on to what's going on with AEW and the big incident between him and Jack Perry at All In. So Punk shares a story about how no one from AEW was there to pick him up in London. I remember that story where they had certain people coming to pick up certain talent when they arrived. No one showed up to pick up CM Punk, which is ridiculous because I'm like, he is literally your biggest star. That's the one that deserves to be picked up first. Give him a limousine. No, he didn't get picked up. And he considered it irresponsible for the company to leave someone stranded at the airport. Now, sure, he could have called an Uber. He took the metro, I think. The local metro to the hotel he was at. So he had a good time. He went on an adventure. But no, you don't do that. That's not cool. Come on now. Even the most die-hard haters for CM Punk, Like, oh my God, the world would be better off if he didn't exist kind of haters. Even you have to admit, that's not cool. It's not. When you tell talent you're going to do something, do it. It would be one thing if they told CM Punk you have to get your own ride. But no, they said we're going to have people pick you up. Anyways. Okay. We talk about CM Punk, Collision, him coming back after being gone from the scrum. Punk tells the story of Tony Khan planning to split the two rosters. Split the roster into two shows. Into two rosters. Punk said, in his opinion, that was never going to work. Which is what I said. I'm like, that's not going to resolve anything. If anything else, that's just going to exacerbate the problems and create more of a tribalistic, literally a tribalistic mindset environment, which is how we got here. Okay, you guys are acting this way, we're just going to separate you. No, we need to work together, squash this shit, and make money. That's how you get over that hump. You separating the rosters is just going to create more of a tribalistic mindset, and what ends up happening with that is that nothing gets resolved and people just stay angry, and then it just festers more. And that's when Punk just basically said, and I heard people making rumors about this, and I was one of the main people saying, I don't think Punk wants to leave. I think he wants to let things cool down. I was wrong. Punk literally asked to be released from his contract. When Tony Khan told him, I am going to split the roster, CM Punk said, that's a dumb idea, just release me. Just let me go. If that's what you have to do to keep the peace, just let me go. Just release me. Pay me my money, pay out my contract, and just let me go. But Tony Khan said no. He insisted that he stayed. But Punk fought it. Apparently Punk fought it. He fought it. He told Tony Khan no one wants him here in AEW and that the company is not a real business. It doesn't focus on making money and selling tickets. It's literally a play box. You are a billionaire who's just looking to spend your money. You're not looking to make money. You just want to spend money. It's not what it was sold to him as. So just let him go. He continues talking about Jack Perry. They move on to talking about Jack Perry. And the Crimea River comment comes up. And he said that was a direct shot at him. He just cleared that up. That was a direct shot at him. We all knew it was. Who was it going to be at? Other than CM Punk. He then talks about the rumors of him signing NDAs. And he says, yes, I did sign an NDA for the bra, but anything else, most of the times, he just doesn't want to talk about it. Like the Jack Perry situation. But he did retell the story of him and Jack Perry. He talks about how Jack Perry was told multiple times, it was on some episode of Collision, but Jack Perry was cussing out people above him, Tony Schiavone being one of them, and I think Arn Anderson. He wanted to do this thing where he had a car and he wanted to break the glass window. And they basically said, anything involving real glass, we're just not going to be involved with. So they told him, no, you can't do that. And Jack Perry was an asshole. He was a fucking dweeb. He was a mark for himself. No, I don't feel bad saying that because that's what he was. He basically said, no, I'm going to do it anyways. You can't tell me what to do, even though you're my boss. He was told multiple times by multiple people, you can't smash the window of a rental car. Because you didn't return the rental car to the company that you got it from. What do we do? They're not going to rent us cars anymore. That's a bad look. So Tony Schiavone went to CM Punk. Please, CM Punk, tell him he can't do that. Punk said he asked him politely. This is the part where I go, did you really ask him politely, Punk? In Punk's mind, he's like, I swear to God, I asked him politely to respect the people above him. And even he said, no, you can't do that. And so Jack Perry told CM Punk, yeah, okay, I won't do it. And Punk said, you want to do that? Go on Dynamite and do it. Don't do it here. And that created an issue between the two. Now, Punk got ahead of it, went to Tony Khan and told him, look, you handle Jack Perry. Squash that, please, before it becomes something worse than the way it is. And you know what? This isn't the first time he told him that. Same thing happened with him and Hangman Page. When Hangman Page went to business for himself and cut that promo on Punk, which we'll talk about, Punk went to Tony Khan, hey, squash that before it becomes something worse than what it is. Because if it gets to a point where I have to handle it, you're not gonna like how I handle it. Because I'm old school. I'm Bruiser Brody. I'm gonna punch them in the fucking face and not feel sorry about it. That's Punk. He is old school. Okay, I started with reason. Since that doesn't work, bow. That's old school. Is that right? I don't know. That's not the only... Situations like that don't just happen in wrestling. It's not exclusive to just wrestling. It happens all over. It happens all over the place. Sometimes you need to resort to that kind of stuff to let people know, hey, asshole, this isn't okay. And if you let him get away with it, then other people start getting away with it, and then you have real chaos. But, you know, the situation never got squashed. He said that it never got squashed. And then it blew up into what happened at All In with Jack Perry saying, real glass, cry me a river. And again, Tony Khan was asked, handle this stuff. What did Tony Khan do? Nothing. Nothing. Poor leadership. Poor leadership from Tony Khan. And that's the common denominator in all this. Everyone's saying the common denominator is CM Punk. No, the common denominator is Tony Khan. The buck stops with Tony Khan. And Tony Khan was not a leader. He just let it happen. Poor leadership. You know what? It reminds me of the time, or just in general, when I was a drum captain in my high school. You know, we were good. We played well, but we had behavior issues. And my drum line would talk out of line. They would stop showing up. They would show up late or not show up at all to games when it came time for us to play with the band. Whose fault was that? Mine. Now you can say it's the band director's fault for not. No. That was my drum line. I was in charge of it. And they got out of line. I was a poor leader. Now looking back on it, clearly I would handle it differently. But I was in charge of that drum line. And they got it. And I was, look, you can sit here and say, well, you were only 17 years old. You didn't know what it was like to be a leader. Nope. I was given the responsibility. I was told when I became captain, whatever happens with that drum line and it goes south, it's all your fault. And it went south. It was my fault. Same thing here with Tony Khan. What happened with CM Punk? At the end of the day, it was a result of his poor leadership. Could he learn from that? Sure. And I hope he has, and I hope he does. I would hate for a similar situation to happen with Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, who's currently signed with them. Let's say she gets into a fight with Britt Baker, and then she splits, because let's be real, we all know Mercedes is not afraid to walk out. She's done it before. So what? When something like that happens, she goes to him and says, please handle this, and he doesn't. We have another CM Punk situation. And then we go, okay, so it's not just CM Punk. No, it's the fact that that locker room is toxic. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. I hope he learned his lesson. But he told Tony Khan, handle it, and he didn't. And then CM Punk said, okay, if you don't handle it, you're not going to like how I handle it. Tony didn't handle it. We know what the outcome was. CM Punk ended up choking. He didn't choke him out, but he choked Jack Perry after Perry threatened him. Punk said, dude, why do you like doing this indie shit? Why do you persist on doing it? Jack Perry provoked him. Well, you don't like it, do something about it. And Punk said, all right. Went straight for the choke. Now Joe had to intervene and stop him. And then we got the line of the entire interview. He turned around, looked at Tony Khan, and told him, this place is a fucking joke, and you're a clown. Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty much where it was basically decided. We're done. We're done here. If we're at the point where your top star is saying, this place is a joke and you're a clown, we've reached a point of no return. And somehow, Tony Khan took that as his life was being threatened. CM Punk talked about that. He said, I did nothing of the sort to indicate that Tony's life was in any kind of danger. He just basically called him a clown. Now, calling Tony Khan a clown basically meant his life was in danger. No, your ego got hurt because you suck at being a leader. Sometimes being a boss and being a leader means you have to roll, you have to roll some heads. Some heads need to roll. Unfortunately, if you're gonna be in the business of making money, when you're handling big personalities, sometimes you gotta make an example out of somebody. And okay, Tony's not that guy. Fine. Hire somebody that will do it for you. You're a billionaire. Handle it, Tony. If you don't want to handle it, hire someone who will. There is no excuse. Again, it all falls back on Tony Khan. So yeah, basically told him that he's a clown. And that place was a joke. I mean, it sold out 85,000 on Punk's back probably, but still, like, look at the results of what happened when Punk left. TV ratings declined. They stopped selling out the regular buildings, and it got to a point where they were doing like what we're seeing now. 2,000, 3,000, and 18,000 seat arenas. It's horrible. It's horrible. Don't sit here and act like, well, it's okay. No, it's bad. It's a bad look and it's bad business. So Punk has a point. He's like, look, this is what happens when you don't lead your company well. And then he goes on to talk about Tony Khan firing him with cause because he felt his life was threatened. And like I said, Punk claims he never did anything to make Tony Khan fear for his life. And basically, Tony is who he is. He's a weirdo. I mean, we see him on Twitter all the time arguing with Eric Bischoff. I saw that freaking Twitter exchange recently. There's been multiple, but the one recently was Eric Bischoff was shutting down one of his podcasts, Strictly Business Podcast with John Alba. And Tony Khan, 4 a.m. in the morning, tweeted at him, or X'd him, I don't even know, messaged him on X. That's such a dumb name. This podcast sunsetting is good for business right before we sign our new TV deal. Basically, he's celebrating the fact that Eric Bischoff's podcast was closing, not realizing that he still has 83 weeks. That's Tony Khan. I don't even want to call him an internet troll, but he's one of those angry wrestling fan message board kind of guys. That's the kind of shit you do on message boards. Tell me when I'm telling lies. But yeah, Punk felt like there was a concerted effort to slander him and the company. After he left, they tried to slander him and ruin his character, which is the genesis of all of this drama. Why bury your top guy? If he's drawing the most money, you cultivate that. And you make him out to be the best thing that's possible because it draws you money and it elevates everyone else around him that he works with. You are hurting yourself when you bury your top guy. With that said, he does hope all his friends in AEW continue to get paid and wishes them well, because the business is better when you have a second promotion pushing for the top spot. And Ariel Emanuel, wrong person. Ariel Helwani. Why do I get those two mixed up? Ariel Helwani asked Punk how did it feel to work for Tony Khan. What was it like working for Tony Khan? And he straight up said, he's a bad boss. He's a horrible boss. Nice guy, but he doesn't know how to run a company. You can be a nice guy and be a good boss. You can be kind and be a good boss. Those things are not mutually exclusive. The problem is he just sucked at being a boss. He literally says AEW is not a place to draw money and sell tickets. We'll get to more of that later on. So finally, they get into AEW All Out, that press conference. He calls it one of the top 3 CM Punk promos ever. Says it was tremendous. I'm not gonna lie, there were some bars. Legit bars in that media scrum promo. Legit bars. I have gone back and watched it 10,000 times. In all seriousness, he mentions how it all started with Hangman Page. We know this. When Hangman Page cut that promo on Punk before Double or Nothing 2022, he said, I am here to save AEW from you. Essentially, I don't remember the actual phrase, but something like that. You are toxic, and I'm here to save the company from you. Punk mentioned how before all that, he actually talked to Hangman Page about the promo. They ironed out the details and stuff, and Punk was offended more so at Page figuratively lowballing him after graciously offering to work with him about the promo. Because everything that Hangman Page talked to CM Punk or told CM Punk in that promo was not discussed with him. He blindsided him with it. And he confronted him afterwards about it and said, why would you do that? Why would you bury me or try to bury me like that in front of everybody? Because he felt he got Colt Cabana fired. Even to this day, I'm like, CM Punk again, yes, he has pull. He is a top guy. But at the end of the day, who does the buck stop with? Tony Khan. If you had a problem with Colt Cabana being fired, why are you taking it out on CM Punk? Tony Khan is right there. But again, that was the beginning of going to Tony Khan and asking him to squash something. And if he didn't, then CM Punk would have to handle it, and you wouldn't like how he handled it. That was the beginning of it. He asked him to squash the situation with Hangman Page. He didn't. And so that festered, and that led to CM Punk doing that promo where he called Hangman Page out to bury him. And then the media scrum, where he completely exploded over Colt Cabana being fired and saying, I had nothing to do with him. And then he ran down the EVPs. They couldn't manage a target. And then, what did I do to deserve a dumb fuck like Hangman Adam Page? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, he said, in short, when it comes to the AEW All Out 2020 preference, does he regret how he handled the situation? Yes. But he handled it. That's what he said. Look, I regret how I handled it, but I handled it. I mean, what would you have done? At some point in time, you have to ask yourself, okay, this shit has got to stop. Legit question. What would you have done? He said he's not allowed to talk about anything related to the Brawl because of the NDA. But he did mention what he did sign. The reason he had to sign for the NDA had nothing to do with him. He said he didn't do anything wrong. He says he has nothing to hide. And he says all the misinformation, the amount of misinformation that came out about the Brawl is lies and bullshit. However, if he wants to believe, this is what's crazy. If people want to believe that he punched someone backstage, like Bruiser Brody had so many stories where he was just an asshole with promoters and certain wrestlers. But if people want to believe that he was a Bruiser Brody backstage where he was a nightmare and punched people when they got out of line, he says, okay, believe it. Because he's professional enough to make money off of it, and they're not. This is a business at the end of the day. And then, of course, he did ask about why was he told to sign an NDA if he had nothing to do with it. Punk said, ask Tony Khan. You're not going to get anywhere with that one. Hey, guys. Oh, so the NDA, I just got to say, a lot of times when it comes to Dynamite, we have great wrestlers, and we just want to protect the environment, because this upcoming Dynamite is going to be the greatest show of all time. He's just going to skirt around it. Period. He spoke about when he got injured. Remember, he tore his tricep. I think wrestling Jon Moxley, he probably got injured during the Brawl. But whatever happened that day, he tore his tricep, and he was out for 8 months. And unlike WWE, who, when he tore his tricep, he got surgery immediately that week, AEW didn't help him. He had to pay it out of pocket. He had to find the right person to do to fix his tricep, and then he had to pay out of pocket. AEW didn't do anything. They just stopped talking. They stopped talking to CM Punk for 6 months. Punk was done. Punk said he was ready to go. He was ready to be out. And the only reason he returned to AEW was because of his friends. Fans. Mostly his friends, but yeah, fans. And he wanted to have a little fun with Collision. The idea of being able to run your own show and, you know, try to make some real change with that enticed him. And he did have an executive position on that show, just so we're clear. He wasn't an executive. Not exactly what it was, he didn't talk about that, but he did have a hand in Collision. And let me tell you something, Collision was hot because of it. He speaks on the idea of him and the Elite using their feud to make money, which is something we all said. Yo, this is hot. Let's make some money off of this. Don't squat. Look, it happened. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Everyone knows about the media scrum. We all saw it. Why not make money off of this? That's the only way we're going to get over this hump. Come together, have a sit down in a room, squash it, but then let's make some money off of it. And Punk said, that's life. And that's how he was raised in the business. He references basketball, court brawls. He referenced hockey players, NHL hockey players. There was a time where I think he said St. Louis Jews had a full team brawl during practice, and they just had a game later on that day. But apparently, that upbringing was not conducive to the AEW environment, and he said he was painted as the devil. And he was asked about the counterfeit Bucks line for AEW Collision when he returned. Punk says he's just really good at knowing where the line is and where to dip his toe over the line. But he never exposed the business. He does things that he is not supposed to do, but in reality, it's not a big deal. Like mentioning Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar during his pipe bomb. Now, that pissed Vince McMahon off. But in reality, okay, you just mentioned Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. You see what I mean? That's the same thing with counterfeit Bucks. You're not supposed to mention the Young Bucks, but okay, you mentioned the Young Bucks. Okay. Punk says he made a lot of great friends in AEW. And again, like, we gotta be honest here. AEW did good by him. They did good by him. They paid him millions of dollars. They brought him out of retirement. They gave him the World Championship not once but twice. Got to maybe a lot of pay-per-views. So it's not like it was a complete shit show. It just ended bad. What was that? The first 8 months of his career in AEW was fine. It was great. It felt like a honeymoon period. Everything was sunshine and rainbows with AEW. Sunshine, what is that? Everything was great. He got to work with Sting, and he feels like the positives outweigh the negatives. But again, he thought he was coming in to help the business, but he realized that AEW is not a real business. It's not about selling tickets or making money. And when he gets asked, and this is something too that's changed over time, even with me. When he's talking to indie talent, and they ask him, what do you improve on? And then he asks them, well, did you sell out the building? And he goes, yeah. Okay, then why do you need my advice? Because at the end of the day, that's what it matters. Now, ultimately, I feel like, okay, yeah, sell out the building, but give him a good show too. But Punk is like, but people have come, they have spent their hard-earned money to come see you. So you must be doing something right. Why do you need my advice? But he then says, okay, you did good for an indie event. That's not going to fly when you get to television and you get to a place where you're selling out 18, 15, or you have to sell out 18, 20, maybe even more seats for WrestleMania or even bigger pay-per-view. That's not going to fly. Because AEW has been doing the indie-rific kind of shows, indie-rific kind of booking for 5 years now. And unfortunately, it's not reflecting in the ratings. Now, to be fair, when they first started, they were in head-to-head competition with NXT. So during that time, we really don't know. I do feel like it could be argued that it doesn't matter. But I also feel like if AEW was on Wednesday by itself and it wasn't going head-to-head with NXT, I feel like that number would be a lot higher than what it was. I do feel that. But I also see where he's coming from, because if it was really a good business model, they would be doing much better than what they are now. He talked about MJF and how he felt his work with MJF was head and shoulders above everything else happening on AEW television. And he thinks MJF is an incredible talent, an unbelievable talent. Just not in the environment he needs to be in to become a megastar. He just feels he would be better for WWE. Now, he was asked by Ariel Helwani, do you think AEW is going to be around for years? And CM Punk said, it will be around as long as Tony Khan wants to put money into it. But in terms of AEW selling and growing off of the fact that, hey, we have to sell out each building. If we stop selling out these buildings, then we lose our business. Probably not. He basically said, and this is word for word, he said, if you're in the business to get a 5-star from a goof like Dave Meltzer, if you're more happy with a goof giving you 5 stars and the buildings are a quarter full, we're not in the same business. Is he right? I mean, we see AEW now struggling to sell out, unless it's a big moment like Sting retiring, or you're bringing in a Mercedes Moné or a big name from WWE. Like, seriously, like, they're not selling out. Like, this past week, they did 3,000 in like an 18-seat arena. Now, Collision did, I think, 5,000 in a 10,000-seat arena, and that crowd was so much better. But 3,000 in an 18,000-seat arena is embarrassing, no matter how you slice it. But he was sold on the idea of AEW being a true competitor and alternative to the WWE. And he felt, okay, this was the last chance to really go head-to-head with WWE, because it makes the business better. However, he felt a ton of talent didn't really have that drive to be better. Because why would they? They're getting guaranteed money from a billionaire. So that creates behavior problems. Because if you're getting paid based off of how many people are showing up to your shows, that's different. Now it's like, okay, what works? You'll be open to trying out different things. But if you get paid the same amount of money, regardless of, okay, you get 20,000 and then 3,000, yeah, that does shape your mindset a little bit. And he talked about when he was running AEW Collision, he booked his shows like, okay, what can I do to draw more people? Okay, what was the ratings this week? All right, what can I do to bring in more people the next week? And the show showed it. I thought the show was a lot better under CM Punk. I'm not saying it's bad now, but still. To close things out, Punk says he does not regret coming back. He wants to reiterate that. I don't regret coming back to signing with AEW, despite everything he said. Although there's a side of me that's like, I mean, if he had known that WWE would have accepted him, he probably would have returned to WWE, but how would he have known that? Especially in 2019, with Vince McMahon there. Not going to happen. But, he said he loves the fact that he made friends with Brody King, Danhausen, Darby Allin, and others. He just felt like the Elite and their friends did not want him there. Tony Khan wanted him there. I bet you Tony Khan still wanted him there, even though he said he felt his life was threatened. Whatever the hell that meant. But this narrative that everybody hates CM Punk, it's not true. And it's only a select few with the Elite and their friends. But I'm happy that they created that idea because we're playing that out in WWE and it's creating good TV. But that's what he talks about. Whatever narrative you put out there, I'm going to use to make money because I can and you can't. But he felt since day one, they did not want him. And they were jealous of him because he was a bigger draw than them. And it was just a relationship that was not going to work out. I mean, just to kind of wrap things up, a lot of what he says, a lot of what he's saying, I feel like I've said before. I feel like a lot of you have said before. But it's different, and I said this with Ronda Rousey when she came out in her memoir and talked about how badly the women have been treated. When Becky Lynch talked about it in her book, how badly the women were treated. It's one thing for us to say it. People like me who just has a microphone and a camera talking to you guys with a green screen. It's another thing for the former world champion, the former top star of your company to say this stuff. That sucks. It's a bad look. It's not a good look on Tony Khan or AEW. It's not. This isn't like something that happened 5 years ago. It's recent. He was fired 6 months ago? It's still recent. So, in conclusion, I hope this is a learning experience for Tony Khan. Not just Tony Khan, but everybody in AEW. And I hope going forward, a situation like this doesn't happen again. I'm happy CM Punk has found his place. I'm happy he's doing well with WWE, and I hope it stays that way. I do have to question, though, how much of this, and I do believe everything he said, how much of what he's talked about here is just from his point of view? That is my biggest issue with all of this. Everyone's going to say, well, there's two sides to every story. Awesome. What's the other side? What's the other side? Because anytime you ask Kenny Omega or the Elite about Punk, they have nothing to say. What's the other side? You ask Tony Khan about Punk, he has nothing to say. What is the other side of this narrative? Until you talk about it, guess what we got to go on? What CM Punk had to say, what reporters had to say. That's it. And all of it makes the Elite look terrible. It makes Tony Khan look incompetent as a boss, no matter how you slice it. Okay, there's two sides to a story. What's the other side? Let me hear the other side. And until I hear the other side, I'm likely to go with what Punk is saying. Because guess what? Silence is an answer. Silence is basically admitting that, all right, I was in the wrong. You can't just ignore it. It's there. It's out there. Like with Vince McMahon. You can't just ignore it. It's out there. So, give me your thoughts. How'd y'all feel about the interview? I'm very curious to know how you guys felt about it, what we talked about here. Ultimately, y'all, I'm just happy everybody's doing well. I want AEW to succeed like everybody else does. I just wish and hope and pray that situations like this never happened. And I hope it doesn't happen again. Because again, we got other big names coming in. Mercedes Moné, who also can be hot-tempered and hot-headed. What's going to happen when she goes to Tony Khan and she says, hey, fix this, and he doesn't? What about Miro? Malachi Black? MJF? And it's not just them. You think they're the only people with big egos? If you're going to be here for the long run, we're talking about 20, 30, 40 years, Tony, my man, you're going to run into a lot more CM Punks. But give me your thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching. Do all the YouTube things. Like the video, subscribe, and click that bell to catch all my content when it comes out. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and donate using PayPal, Patreon, Cashapp, and Venmo. WrestleMania week is here. We have a lot to get to. But whenever you watch this, please check out my live streams. My live streams are all up for the week. Don't miss any of my reviews, my predictions, whatever stream you see. Hope to see you all there. Thank you all for watching. This is Alyx, just Alyx signing out right here in Alyx's world. The place it is, was, and forever will be a safe space for wrestling fans like you.